Howdy, YouTube. Um, Socialism on roids here with another glorified rant. That's socialism on roids, kryptonite for conservatives. I'm off my roids, off my rocker, and on the warpath. Here we go. Let me adjust this thing a bit. I'm always videotaping these things on my phone nowadays because my webcam is garbage. Really need to invest in a new one, but meh. So Argentina elected an Austrian economics proponent to their presidency who likens himself to Donald Trump. So they learned nothing from the US's experience. They learned nothing from Brazil's experience. And this is a country that had the closest thing to, at least at one point, had the closest thing to a totalitarian state in the entire history of the Americas under Jorge Vidala and his military junta following the Dirty Wars. So if it can happen there, understand, if it can happen there despite those people having the terror of that regime and the death squads, the flights of death, neighbors turning in neighbors, children being kidnapped by the state and raised as political operatives for the far right. If it could happen there, despite people being alive who remember that shit, it can happen here again. It can happen anywhere. It can happen in Brazil again. The last election, the last presidential election in Brazil was very fucking close. So, to all you people who keep saying that, oh, we're not going to show up for Biden, we're not going to show up for Biden because of what's happening in Gaza, all I can say to that is, hey, I don't like the situation in Gaza any more than you. I don't agree with Biden's policies on this, but if you're breathing down the neck of, if you're breathing down the barrel of a loaded shotgun like 2025 with someone like Mike Johnson in the fucking driver's seat in the House, I think you'd better reconsider the idea of sacrificing your principles on an altar to your principles. Like I said in a previous video, you can either choose to save someone or you can choose to save no one. End of fucking discussion. Hate to say this, but when many of us, well, I didn't, but I voted for Howie Hawkins in 2020, but the Green Party proved themselves to be one massive disappointment because they ate their own. But for many of us who voted for Biden, many who voted for Biden who were on the left were well aware that Biden was going to side with Israel if something happened. I mean, he went on record going all the way back to the 1980s talking about how he was pro-Israel down the line and that he would support them regardless. We just never could have imagined that this was going to happen. That something like this is going to happen, and it happens. So, is anyone really surprised? No. But I'm also going to say that my reason for changing my views on how we approach the national politics over the past couple of years, they've evolved based on what we should understand now, based on experience, that the whole movement for a People's Party thing, all these Jimmy Dore alkalites, crazies, and grifters, and the Green Party, they're not serious people. They never will be serious people, and they have no intention of getting serious because they will always manage to eat their own. And you know this. I know this. But we're also confronted with the issue that, with a new issue. Well, not a new issue. Hell, the AIPAC. They spent over $30 million in the last election trying to unseat the squad. So them tripling that amount this time around, they pledged, the AIPAC has pledged to raise over $100 million to get rid of the left in Congress completely. Um, all I'm going to say is you better batten down the hatches, and we better start donating to AOC. We better start donating to Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, Max Frost, whoever, Ariana Presley. I don't give a shit. I don't care what your hangups are. If you're one of those people who says that we need to finally break away from the Democrats, you're not being serious, because there's no way a third party is going to work. It's never going to work. And if you're just sitting there boo-hooing because they haven't been able to give us anything, hello, there are like 10, 12 of them. There are 435 fucking seats in Congress. Well, I can only say pull up your pull up your big boy pants and just roll with it. Just I don't like this any more than you do. Nobody does. But the fact of the matter is, this year has gone from being a year in which we could have hoped to have slipped under the radar and made some leftist gains, to being one in which we might actually be fighting for our political lives. Yes, it's true that AOC and well, at least 8 out of 10 of them are going to win their primaries and go on to win their re-elections, because many of them are in safer districts. But some of them, like Ilhan Omar, really do need our help. The far right in America and the far right in Israel have essentially declared war on the left, and they're going after both her and Rashida Tlaib. Now, the optics surrounding Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, they might be negative to your typical centrist, but we got to form ranks. We got to circle the bandwagons around these people, because they took a stand for us. They took a stand for well, not just for us, but they took a stand for Palestinian rights. They took a stand for they took a stand knowing that they likely would pay a massive political price for it, and they have. Look at Ilhan Omar; she's been censored. All right, Rashida Tlaib has been censored. I mean, the far right, both in the states and in Israel, have declared war on people of color in the United States, in our politics. And if you're and my question to these tankies, all these tankies and hyper contrarian, woe is me doomer fucks who are just going out of their way, just I don't know, they're just who are just losing their mind, and who are just sitting there trying to make excuses for why they won't try to support these people. I'm starting to think that those fuckers are all just a bunch of right wing psyops, because they kept bitching and moaning about the squad not doing this or doing that, or taking a stand that was politically inconvenient. But now that they are, these tankies, they're nowhere to be found. They're nowhere to be found. They're just like, they're not coming back. They're not trying to reward elected left wing members of Congress, social democrat and democratic socialist members of Congress, for doing the right thing. They're not. They don't care about that. Their goal was always to just destroy the electoralism on the left, because they think that if they push the accelerationist vanguard angle enough, that, oh, well, we can dispense with elections altogether. Yeah, spoken like a true Leninist piece of shit. The Bolsheviks also got rid of free elections in their country. It proves that tankies are every bit as authoritarian. It proves that they have it out for all of us, just like the conservatives do. They'll hide it. Oh, they'll hide it. They'll try to use language, the same language that, they'll co-opt the same language that people who are social democrats, democratic socialists, libertarian socialists, anarcho-syndicalists, they'll co-opt every other leftist language in the hopes of worming their way into positions within existing left-wing organizations that were founded by reformers. But once they get in there, they try to get to do away with the reformist spirit of any left-leaning and left-wing group that exists. These people are a fucking cancer. They have no intention of actually helping us. They have every intention of pushing us out, the same way the Bolsheviks pushed out the reformers, pushed out anyone who was even remotely interested. And this is coming from someone who thinks that the phrase what is it incremental change is tantamount to a curse word. I'm one of those people, but I still think these people have become just that these people are toxic. They don't want the left to win. No, they care more about being right. It's either them or it's the doomer types like the amazing atheist and his drunken peasants little powwow where they all get together and talk about, oh, woe is me, things are so bad. But all they do is complain, but they don't offer solutions. They don't want to offer solutions because they want things to get bad so they can turn around and say, I told you so, because they care more about being right than they do about actually helping people. Tankies care more about being right or being validated than they do about helping people. These LARPy motherfuckers have ruined everything for the reformers. They have ruined everything for us, or at least they're trying to. And we've got to make a choice. We have to make a definitive choice right now whether we're going to continue to put up with this shit. There has to be more effort put in by existing left-wing groups to keep tankies and doomer hyper-contrarian types from getting into positions of authority, because these people tear our morale down. They rip the soul, they rip the energy out of our organizations. They only care about validation, and they only care about LARPy garbage. They don't care about they're as bad about that shit as the alt-right are. They're not serious players. They don't want to see us get universal health care. They don't want to see unions grow and succeed and make gains, because that undermines their ability to win using their tactic, because it shows people that we don't have to turn to outright authoritarianism ourselves, or we don't have to turn to despair or any of these other negative, or we don't have to go down any of these other negative paths in order to accomplish the goals that we've set forth for ourselves. These people they don't embody the spirit of the left. They don't care about solidarity with the rest of us. They never have. They never will. They basically go full on mob on anyone who even thinks about disagreeing with their particular crowd on YouTube, social media, wherever. They'll deliberately weaponize YouTube's terms of service to go after left-wing voices that don't agree with them. By all accounts, these people, they're genocide deniers. They don't really, they try everything they can to say that, oh, well, everything that the Chinese government and the Russian government and North Korean government have done, that's just American propaganda. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. The post-Soviet government, as soon as Stalin's body was cold, those motherfuckers released a long laundry list of the crimes that both Stalin and his cohorts like Lavrentiy Beria perpetrated against the Soviet people. Let me guzzle something down. And no amount of going into denialism over what the Uyghurs in northern China or the protesters in Hong Kong and the rest of China are going through, no amount of denying that shit or denying what the people of North Korea are going through, it just makes you look like you're no better than a Holocaust denier. If you're one of those leftists who sits around pretending like this shit never happened, pretending that Khmer Rouge never happened, then you're no better than a fucking white nationalist who does the same thing from the right. I hate to say it, but there are some people who are living proof that horseshoe theory is a thing. If it weren't, people like Caleb Maupin and Jimmy Dore wouldn't be a fucking thing now, would they? People like Max Blumenthal, who is basically being paid by the Russian government through Russia TV, wouldn't be a fucking thing. Anyone who says that horseshoe theory isn't a thing, anyone who sits there with a straight face and tells me that it's just made up bullshit. If it were made up bullshit, then the fucking left-wing professors in my own fucking university wouldn't have taught it in their political science course material now, would they? okay, maybe I'm just saying that you can't just stick your fingers in your ears, put your hands over your eyes, put your hands over your mouth, and say, "See no evil, hear no evil, say no evil." At some point, we just have to acknowledge that there are people on our side of the board who are every bit as dumb, every bit as authoritarian, every bit as harmful to us, and are every bit as much a liability to us as any far right or Republican MAGA shithead or any limp dicked centrist boomer asshole in our body politic. We There have been studies there have been studies done that show that conservatives and liberals and leftists, there's no difference in the intelligence. Everyone is capable of being a monster, an authoritarian. Everyone is capable of being the worst possible person imaginable. And hell, look at Illuminati. I mean, she got on to the fucking what is it? The leftist mafia. She managed to worm her way onto it, and even after she was revealed to be an exploitative piece of shit, as much as I like Lance, from the surface, as much as I love his content, the fucker did everything he could not to address the fact that this person was that they actually allowed this person to worm her way into their confidence. We are dumb, okay? We are human beings. We're just normal everyday people. There's nothing extraordinary about us just because of our political ideology. And anyone who thinks that is no damn better than a right-winger who thinks that his belief system is some kind of magical default that everyone's going to go towards. We've jumped the shark, people. Too many of us care more about getting revenge on the Democrats over the 2016 and 2020 Democratic primaries. Too many of us care more about getting revenge over what Cherry Busta, Patrick Maloney, Tom Perez, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz have done. Too many of us care more about getting revenge on those people than we do about making it where we can even have the opportunity to vote in the future at all. So yeah, a lot of us will hide it behind this moral grandstanding and everything, but let's be fair. Moral grandstanding, there's such a thing as pearl clutching, and the right wing does it. I'm pretty sure we do it too. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of us who really just use our public moral stance as a hiding space. Hell, look at Illuminati. Look at every person on the left who was ever exposed for basically being a grifter, just like every right-winger who's ever been exposed as being a grifter. I don't give my own side a free pass. I can't do that. I can't do that in good faith. I'm sorry. I saw too much of that shit growing up in the South with right-wingers basically going against each other. When I was growing up, it was like the amount of interesting fighting these kinds of people did when they didn't have any out-group to go after. It's like, hey, you see it in one group, it exists in others. Hell, I saw this kind of shit in the college Democrats back when I was the president of 2 separate chapters. I've seen it play out so many times. Human foibles, they're ubiquitous. There's no getting away from this shit. The most we can do is fight to make sure that it's kept to a minimum. None of us have a definitive moral high ground. And there are just too damn many of us who care more about our own pride, our own selfishness, our own personal validation than we do about the people. And that's regardless of what part of the political spectrum you think you're on. There are just too many of us who fell victim to we're guilty of hubris. And there comes a point. Sorry, I got to shift a little bit. Got restless leg syndrome. There comes a point where where we just have to acknowledge that we are our own worst enemy. Now, does this mean we have to like the decisions that we're ultimately forced to make? Does it mean we have to like acknowledging when people that we don't like are right about something? No, we don't have to like it, but it's a mark of maturity when we do the things that we have to do, regardless of how much we hate it. If you just cross your arms and dig your fucking heels in, like some kind of toddler, just because you don't like being told what to do, or just because you don't like doing things you don't like to do. I mean, hey, that's what conservatives do, isn't it? Isn't that what we accused them of doing for generations when they would get mad and take their ball and go home? That's what we used to talk about, the MAGA crowd and the Tea Party crowd. They still do that shit. How it's no different from what you're doing, guys. Come on. We can be better than this. I'm not saying we are, but we can be better than this. I mean, as much as I despise Barack Obama for betraying left wing millennials and left leaning millennials, as much as I hate the fact that this guy was the living poster child for why we needed higher standards, I can at least acknowledge that now, looking back, in retrospect, I can at least acknowledge that President Obama, was right about us. On as much as I hate to admit it, he was right about us having that whole instant gratification, I want my pony now attitude. And I'm saying this as someone who fucking hates incremental change. I'm the kind of person who thinks that, oh, we should have had far more by now, which we should have. But goddamn, people, as much as we complain about the boomers being the original me generation, we are too used to getting what we want too damn quickly. And I understand that we're under a time crunch because of climate change and peak oil worldwide and all this other shit. I get it. We are under crunch time, but we also have to acknowledge that we're not going to get we were likely never to get what we wanted in our lifetimes. When we embarked on this journey together to pursue reform, we did so with the knowledge that we will probably not see the world that we want to bring about. We probably won't live long enough to see that. It's probably going to be our kids and grandkids who are going to be seeing that world. It's going to be the next generation that are going to be seeing the kind of reform that we want to see. But right now, at this time, whether y'all want to admit it or not, Vosh, Xander Hall, they are right. We have to be defensive. We have to circle the bandwagons. We have to vote for Biden. I don't like it any more than you do, but I also acknowledge that I didn't initially throw my support behind Biden after the 2022 elections because of anything involving Israel. I already knew what his stance on Israel was. I just didn't think there would come a point where it would come into play. But fuck you, Hamas, and fuck you, Netanyahu, for putting me in this position. But I mean, I shifted my support towards Biden because, hey, the changes at the National Labor Relations Board, the fact that he's kept student loan debt forgiveness in the forefront of the public consciousness. I mean, he's done things that are admirably good, and as Kyle Kalinske would say, he's both ways Biden. He's either decent, he's either good or really good, or he's really fucking bad, depending on the issue. And human beings are complicated like that. We're never going to get everything we want. We were never going to get everything we wanted out of the squad, no matter how far to the left those guys were. If these people were fucking just Isaiah Berlin, just left wing as fucking every aspect, and they're left wing by the standards of the vast majority of American politicians. But we got behind them with the knowledge that they weren't going to be perfect. We can't, and I know you guys don't like hearing this. I don't like hearing it either, but it needs to be said. We can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I don't like recycling platitudes or talking points or whatever you want to call them from centrists, but as much as I hate to say it, they're more right about that than we care to admit. Like I said before, it's a mark of maturity when you admit that the people you don't like are right about something. Hell, if centrists were unintelligent, as much as I hate to say this, if centrists were unintelligent, they wouldn't have been able to hold on to power within the Democratic Party as long as they have. These people aren't dumb. We're not dumb. But we're also not uniformly geniuses either. We're just, we're average people. All of us. We have average intelligence. We're all we have to come to terms with the fact that this is where we're at. Project 2025 is that double-barreled shotgun that's pointing at us. It's essentially the meteor that's gonna make the dinosaurs extinct. You know, and the AIPAC they're gearing up to wipe out the left. These people they represent the far right. They've made their pact with the Republican Party in the past, and does it suck that Hakeem Jeffries isn't saying anything about it because he also wants to see the left lose a little bit of its influence? It does suck, but at some point, someone's going to have to acknowledge this. The AIPAC they have a history of supporting Republican candidates in the event that they can't win the primaries. So you can bet that at least half of that war chest that they've pledged to defeat the squad with has been put aside for funding their Republican opponents in the general, even if they lose even if their candidates lose their primary challenges against the squad. Nobody said this was going to be easy. But if we allow these people, if we continue to abandon the most left-wing, most progressive members of Congress, just because they didn't turn out as left-wing as we thought, if we continue to bitch and moan about Fetterman and his stance on Israel, something tells me he didn't want to be a target of AIPAC either. But hey, I didn't send money to Fetterman because of his stance on Israel. I sent it to him because he's pro-labor as fuck. You're not going to get the perfect candidate. There's no such thing as the perfect candidate. I don't like this. Hell, Bernie Sanders wasn't perfect. Bernie Sanders is as kind as the man is, as long as his career of being a good reformist is, he also underestimated the influence, the level of influence that neo-Confederate ideology has had on rural white America. So, that was one of his greatest weaknesses in 2020. As the campaign went on, he tended to learn a little bit from that weakness and grow from it. But it was too little, too late. So going forward, circle the bandwagons. And we need to start vetting our leadership, the leadership of our left-wing organizations more, to make sure that certain people can't weaponize us, can't rip the spirit of reformism away from us, that they can't bring down our morale. Well, I guess that's all I have to say. There goes my little 30-minute rant. Socialism on roids, coming from Auburn, Alabama. Peace out.